Role Models, Season 2. Here we go. Hello, Jared Walshy. Thank you very much for having a listen, and hopefully you enjoyed Season 1. I spoke to some very inspirational people who have high-profile jobs and lifestyles, but I turned the attention to things they're doing away from the spotlight, and wow, they definitely are inspiring people. I highly recommend you go back and have a listen if you haven't done that yet. So what's Season 2 all about? Well, of course, I want to talk to more inspiring people, but I want to open it up a little bit and not just talk to people with high-profile jobs. I just want to talk to inspiring people who are doing inspiring things. Like this season, I am going to chat to an Olympic gold medalist. I'm going to talk to someone who's really passionate about mental health. And I'm also going to be speaking to someone who has what I reckon is the most inspiring weight loss story I have ever heard. But you know what? All of those very special, beautiful guests can wait, because I've got to get into my very special guest for Season 2, Episode 1. So let me tell you about him. As you can tell, I'm very excited. I mean, I've got such a bumper lineup for Season 2 of Role Models, and I'm very grateful that people have donated their time and #blessed, all that other stuff. So here we go. My very special guest, his name is Karl Amon. He plays AFL for the Port Adelaide Football Club. He's played 30 games, kicked almost 20 goals, and he is a young gun. He's going to be a superstar. He's a great human being as well, who's been through so much adversity. So that's what you may know about Karl, his work on the football field. If you're a Power fan, a Magpies fan, or just an AFL fan in general, what you may not know, and it's definitely what we talk about in the podcast, is that as a kid, he suffered a disease called Perthes Disease. Now, I'll get Karl to tell you more about it, but without trying to spoil too much, there was a year of his life where he was in a wheelchair without the ability to walk. And think about it. He's gone from being in a wheelchair to playing in the most elite sporting competition in Australia. It's pretty inspiring. I'm also going to have a chat to him about how he was drafted, what it's like moving from Victoria with your family and friends to a foreign city such as Adelaide. And I'll probably also ask him about sports jerseys because I'm really obsessed with them. Hopefully you enjoy this one. Actually, I know you will. Inspiring people doing inspiring things. My very special guest, Season 2, Episode 1 of Role Models, Karl Amon. Karl, thank you very much for having a chat on the Role Models podcast at a really good time for the Port Adelaide Football Club as well. It's been such a strange AFL season, but the Power sitting comfortably in the top four. But I guess you being a member of that side, you know that especially in 2017, you can't get comfortable because it's so even.
Yeah, you're not wrong. It has, like you said, it has been a very interesting season. And, seeing the past few weeks, teams 17th on the ladder beating people in the top two. So, it's been a really interesting season. I'm sure it's been a good spectacle, but for us, we're trying to get better every week. And for us, we're not really sitting comfortable where we are. We want to try and get even higher on the ladder. So we're going to take that week by week, and hopefully we can have some success in the near future.
Now, how long have you been in South Australia for, mate?
So this is my fourth year on the Powers list. So I'm originally from Melbourne, Victoria, and made the move over when I got drafted when I was 18. So this is my fourth year here, and enjoying it so far.
We need to be honest with one another because I was born in Victoria. I spent a bit of time in Tasmania as well, and when I was 15, my dad said to me, "We are moving the family over to South Australia." And it's actually like, for me as a 15-year-old, I was going, I don't want to do that. Why the hell would I want to move to South Australia? And I know that it's been well documented. Ollie Wines, when he was drafted, there was a fair bit of drama around that, and that's worked out really well. For you as a player who wanted to get drafted, do you at all think, geez, I wish I am drafted to one of the 10 Victorian clubs, or do you actually go, I don't care where I'm drafted, I want an opportunity?
Obviously, I'm sure every kid that gets drafted would love to stay home and stay with their friends and family. But at the end of the day, it's a dream of ours to play AFL football. So, for me to get the opportunity to play for Port Adelaide, I loved every minute of it, and I'm going to take it with both hands. So for me, the move, it was hard early, but we've got such a close group of boys, and the support the club puts behind you moving interstate. It was pretty easy to do, and at the end of the day, it's a dream of ours to play AFL, so we'll go wherever we want.
Do you find as well, and I definitely noticed this as a 15-year-old kid, far out, you grow up really quickly, and you look back at some of your friends who are probably still living in Victoria and going, wow, I actually didn't have a choice. I needed to grow up fast in an unfamiliar environment with unfamiliar people, and You are lucky to be surrounded by such a great community at the Port Adelaide Football Club, but you definitely learn a lot about yourself over that first couple of years.
Yeah, you do. As you said, you grow up really quickly, and the club puts things instead, like host families and support for you to move over to make the process a little bit easier. But I'm finding myself at 21 living by myself, and I look at my mates and they're still living at home and battling to get around and cooking and washing and all that. So. You do grow up pretty quickly, but it's all part of the journey, and it's all something that you enjoy along the way.
Do you find yourself a little bit of a mentor for people who are drafted to the football club, because you've been there for a handful of years now, especially the ones who are drafted from interstate that may be feeling that a little bit uncomfortable? I definitely agree with the whole homesick mentality, because I would get homesick if I was away from my family and friends, no matter what job or profession, or no matter how much money you get paid. So do you get around these guys and go, hey, it's really good to have you here. We want you to enjoy this time here? Because if you're happy off the field, of course, you're going to be going in carefree into a game of football and probably play better footy. Yeah,
that's right. I think not just only me, but the whole club that we have, they make it so much easier. And all the younger boys, they tend to stick together, and that's really good because, on days off like today, we like to spend time with each other and make that process easy, because I think, majority of half of our list, I think, are from interstate. So, the club do a really good effort, really good job in the transition, and, the boys get around each other, which makes it that much easier as well.
All right. Now, I have one more football question before we go into the other part of this podcast. I'm obsessed with sports jerseys. Like, I'm the worst athlete in the history of sport, and I can't play any sport to save my life, but I dress the part, so it's essentially all the gear with no idea, and I just love it. My question is, you've been playing at the Power for a long time. You would have so many tracksuits, media polos, Guernseys and things like this. Do you store them all? Do you have to give them back to the club? What's the deal with that?
I have seen your collection, and it's quite a collection, I must say. That's first of all. We do have a lot of gear. We're fortunate enough that we get new gear every year. So I've got bags and bags of clothes, bags of Guernseys that, I don't really know what to do with them. I normally just take them home and give them to my mates, or even just give them to charity or whatever. But, there's a lot of clothes and a lot of bags of Guernseys, yeah.
I get excited as well, because when I work at the Power Games, every year I go, okay, so say Renault's the major sponsor of the Power, and I go, fantastic, they've changed their logo, which means they have to put a new logo on their T-shirt, which means I get a new T-shirt. And I think a lot of people don't understand that these media polos and T-shirts and stuff, you buy one and it's about $150, so it's actually really expensive gear that we're wearing.
Yeah, it is. And like you said, they change their logos quite often, and we have to change our polos every year. So, we keep getting them, and I'm not really sure what to do with them.
Now, I don't know too much about you personally, mate. I do remember a couple of years ago we were at the Festival Centre watching I can't remember what the performance was. It was some stage show, and you got dragged onto the stage with, I think, former Power player Kane Mitchell, which was what was that show called? I can't remember. Do you remember that?
Oh, it was the circus, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, that's right. And I think Kane fell in love, or someone fell in love with him. But watching the news over the weekend here in South Australia, a really inspiring and fascinating story. And I'm really glad that I got to see this, because, as I said, I don't know too much about your background, but the headline which really stands out for me doing a little bit of research is that Karl Amon shows that struggles need not derail dreams, because through your childhood, you definitely went through a fair struggle.
Yeah, so at the age of 5, I was diagnosed with Perthes Disease, and it's kind of a rare hip disease where the femur bone, the head of the femur bone, sort of it starts to die. So the blood supply to the head of the bone sort of diminishes, and the bone starts to soften. So at the age of 5 to 7, I went through 5 operations back at the Royal Children's back in Melbourne, and over that time I was in a wheelchair for a year. I was in and out of hospital on crutches for a long period of time, and through there, it was a pretty tough time back then. But looking back on it, it's something that I'm extremely proud of, to come out the other end and to fulfill an AFL dream from where I've come from. Yeah, it's not only proud for me, but my family as well.
You didn't just fulfill a dream, mate. I mean, you've gone from not being able to walk for a year in a wheelchair to playing, the most elite sport in Australia, and at the highest level, and playing really good football as well. I mean, I'm sure that you have some memories of being at that age, but talking to your family about it, have you had some pretty honest conversations about their fears that they went through? Because I'm sure now you can look back and go, I've actually come out the other side better, but I'm sure there were a lot of fears about what your future was going to be when it came to not just playing sport, but also walking.
Yeah, I think so. I think for us it was all an unknown, and speaking to people that I'm meeting today with the same disease, because it always sort of occurs around the age of 5 from what I've heard. It was sort of an unknown, and we didn't really know what to expect, and we sort of just took it day by day, and for me, operation by operation, and it was kind of scary at the moment, but I was lucky enough to have a really good surgeon and really good support around me to help me get through it. And I remember when I was 18, going into my draft year, I went back and saw my surgeon and got x-rays done, and he said, you would never know you had the disease. So for me, I was really fortunate enough to have the support around me, as I said, and for me it's been a really good outcome, and you wouldn't be able to tell that I had it. But I've still got a 10 centimetre scar on my right hip that sort of reminds me every day, which is, I quite enjoy. Just shows where I've come from, and how lucky I am.
Do you naturally look at minor injuries now if you hurt your hamstring or you roll your ankle, and you sometimes look at that scar and go, I've actually had worse, and this is nothing compared to, what I had to grow up with for a few years? Yeah,
a little bit. I think, you put some things into perspective, and, it's good to have those memories. And, I met Quade on a couple of weeks ago, which was the news story that came out, and he was the first person that I've met that was actually in a wheelchair. And the first time I saw him, it brought back those memories of what I went through, and it was a pretty good moment.
It was fascinating seeing that story, and I know a couple of years ago you also invited a young Ross Trevor College student to spend a bit of time at the training facilities as well. But that story not just helped, I guess, raise a little bit of awareness about it, and I'll ask you a bit more about that in a sec, but also what it does. It shows that football clubs aren't just football clubs. I speak of the last Power Home game, Travis Boak handed over his captaincy to a little boy by the name of Jake, who was suffering cancer, and Travis Boak has obviously been affected by that. What football clubs do, which don't get the recognition I feel they deserve amongst the community and changing people's lives for the better. Does that frustrate you a little bit? Because I know working in the media, I can have a look around at different media organisations, and you see one night had a night out on the piss and got into trouble, or someone posted something offensive on social media and it makes front page of the newspaper. But these other great stories are almost hidden away and forgotten about, the amazing things that you guys are doing in the community.
Yeah, I think so. I think, obviously the media have a job to do, and they try and find stories here and there. But I think what football clubs do, and I know I can speak for us firsthand, that we try and make it's in our slogan. We try and make our community proud, and that's what we do. And I know Trav leads the way in that with all the cancer stuff that he does. And there's other boys that do so much. Jack Homsch works in the disabled community space, and there's stories that they probably don't get enough recognition, but they're out there, and we're trying to do our bit for the community because, we're seen as role models, and, we can have such an impact on different people and it's such a wide range of people. So, we're really proud of what we do. And I think the recognition can go a little bit further because there's so many good stories out there.
And you notice that as well with, the guys who come to the footy club and the young man in the wheelchair in the report over the weekend, he's meeting Chad Wingard, who's signing a little mini football for him, or he's spending time with you and you're showing him around the facility. Not just you're changing his life, but you look at, was that his father with him in the news report that we saw?
Yeah, it was.
And you see just the look on his face. And I'm a new father. I've got a 9-month-old daughter, and I can just imagine how proud he would be to go, right now his son would be, the bravest little kid going through a really traumatic time, not just for himself, but also his family. And to see his mind taken off that for just such a short period of time, I think that sometimes a lot of role models in society don't understand how a little actually goes a long way.
It does. And I think for Quade's parents as well, I was talking to them, as I said before, they're in that unknown stage as well where, they're not really sure of where the disease goes because, with this disease, they sort of kind of tend to rest the patient, so surgery is kind of the last option, really. And I was really lucky enough to have those operations and come out the other side in a perfect world. But they're sort of going through that unknown space. So for him and Quade's parents to have a chat about me and what I went through, they gain more knowledge about the disease. So it was really good for them to sort of just have a chat and feed off me and feed off someone who's sort of gone through it before and, just to gain more knowledge about it. But, yeah, to see, Quade have that smile on his face. And I was speaking to our media manager yesterday and he said he hasn't stopped talking about it since that day. So to put a smile on their face and to know that I can sort of give that, a little bit of inspiration, that's really pleasing for me.
That's awesome. And is there a way that we can find out a little bit more information on Perthes disease and also Quade's story via social media or websites and things like that, Karl?
Yeah, so Quade's stories, I think the club's going to put something out on the website there. And I know I met Hamish Shute, a couple months back who is sort of a little bit different story to Quade. He's sort of around, I'm pretty sure he's 16 and he's got the disease and he's sort of going through that unknown stage as well, and they're sort of just resting him and seeing how he grows into it. So that's on the website as well. But I've been researching. I do a lot of research on just through Google, pretty much. There's a lot of information on the internet. So if anyone sort of just wants to know more or needs to know more, there's a lot of stuff on the internet.
Awesome, mate. Well, congratulations, not just on your AFL career, of course, and I know I sound like an old man when I say it, but you are a young man who is a brilliant human being, not just with what you've overcome, but spreading the message and positivity amongst the community, mate. So you're a credit to your family. I really appreciate you giving me the time just to have a quick chat about it and everything that we can do in regards to researching more and getting the message out. And if you ever see Quade again and he wants to, spend time at the radio station or do anything like that, it would be my pleasure to do that. So, Karl, thank you very much for being on the Role Models podcast.
No worries. Thanks for having me, mate.
If you want to follow Karl Amon on social media, I'll chuck all of the links to his Instagram and Twitter on the description of this podcast. And make sure you give us a follow as well on my social accounts. All those details are there. If you want to have a listen to some of the previous episodes I've done in Season 1, you can always have a look at ozcastnetwork.com. Make sure you share it on social media as well. Now, Season 2, my focus, of course, is to continue talking to really special people who, of course, you have an idea what they do in the spotlight, but I want to turn the attention to what they're doing away from the spotlight. I also want to chat to everyday people as well who may not have high-profile jobs. So please get in touch with me. You can email me, tweet me, send me a Facebook message if you think you know someone who should have a chat on the Role Models podcast. Next week, I am going to be talking to an Olympic gold medalist, and he's still a teenager. Isn't that ridiculous? I really appreciate you listening to Season 2, Episode 1 of Role Models. I'll catch you next time.
This podcast is part of the Ozcast Network.